and welcome to Plant Shack, a piano shack with me, Woody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Yes, I thought we just needed to perhaps pimp up the shack a little bit. I can't wait to see your comments. So what I want to do today is go over the great hardware versus software synthesizer debate. What are the pros and cons of a hardware synthesizer like this one compared to a software synthesizer like this one? And in which situation would you choose one over the other? It's absolutely boiling today and the sweat is running from my forehead, but let's crack on. I asked for your help on social media to compile a list of talking points that we can go through today. Now, this video is mainly targeted at newcomers to music production, but there will be some topics that maybe even more advanced producers haven't thought of before. And the idea for this video came from one of my viewers, Jim Beveridge, so thank you very much. Now, I guess you don't want to look at my sweaty face for 10 minutes, so what we'll do as a special treat is show you some footage from the archives of the hardware and software synths that I've used over the years. But first, a quick message from my sponsor. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with thousands of classes. Let's put it to the test. I'll see if I can find some interesting music production lessons for you. Here are a few that are on my saved list that I think you might enjoy.
My real name is Jamil Keaton.
Premium membership costs less than $10 a month if you get an annual subscription, but I've got a much better deal for you. Use my link to get 2 months completely free of charge. I can assure you there is some pretty good stuff over there, so try it out yourself with absolutely nothing to lose.
With $200 and buy the latest doll.
When you sign up using the link in my description, then Skillshare will know that I sent you, and that really helps me out. I appreciate it. Okay, before we get into the list, let's just clear up a few definitions for those of you that might be new to this. So this is a hardware synthesizer then. They typically have a keyboard, but they don't have to, in which case it's a synthesizer module and you control it with another MIDI keyboard. But they often have some kind of control panel, perhaps a display like this one does, and a couple of controllers like this pitch bend and mod wheel. And around the back you have outputs to connect it to your amplification system or plug in a pair of headphones. It's a completely self-contained device. A software synthesizer, on the other hand, sometimes called a VST or a VSTi for VST instrument, or a softsynth, is a program just like this one that runs on your PC. It's just a computer program, a piece of software. So in order to play a software synthesizer, you are going to need a USB MIDI controller just like this one, which you can play and send MIDI data to the program. And to hear the output of the synthesizer, you'll need to connect headphones or an amplifier to the sound card of your computer, or use a USB audio interface just like this one. Now that we're all on the same page and understand the same basic terminology, let's get on with the list of the differences and the pros and cons. Obviously, a hardware synth is a physical device and has a presence in your studio. It will take up some space and you can look at it, touch it, and enjoy its physical existence. No doubt this can be a satisfying and enjoyable experience, but you'll need to dust it from time to time. Software, on the other hand, is just a few megabytes on your hard disk and an icon on your desktop. If you have 1 or 100 synths, they take the same physical space. Hardware synths have a control panel with knobs and sliders for immediate hands-on control to adjust the parameters and tweak the sound. It's extremely quick and intuitive once you know your way around. You can play and tweak at the same time to create an emotional performance. Although software synths have beautiful graphical user interfaces, at the end of the day, it's just an image on a screen that you click and drag with your mouse. It's fiddly and unsatisfying. Okay, it's downright awkward. You don't feel like you are playing a musical instrument. MIDI controllers attempt to overcome this by providing a set of sliders and knobs, but it's a generic layout that works half decent at best, and you'll waste a lot of time mapping the physical controls to the parameters in your software. Turn on a hardware synth and you're good to go within seconds. Not so much with a software synthesizer. You'll probably have to boot up your Mac or Windows PC, log in, start your DAW, find and load the software synth, perhaps do an update or two. You may need to mess around with audio settings, activation routines, and you'll inevitably find yourself tinkering with driver configurations and latency buffer settings. That's no fun at all. Some hardware synths have sequencers and song recorders built in, which is a really quick and easy way to capture musical ideas and much more spontaneous than starting up and clicking around in your computer. By the time you've started all the software, the spark of inspiration is dead. A workstation-style synth like this one offers thousands of sounds in every conceivable category: piano, strings, organ, drums, guitar, you name it. All of that in one single box. There isn't really a single software synthesizer that does all of this as well. Instead, they tend to focus on one speciality, like recreating a piano, a guitar, or a certain type of synthesis. You'll need dozens of different software instruments to get the wide range of sounds that a single hardware workstation provides. However, a hardware or software synth specializing in one type of sound will typically do it much better than a jack of all trades, and that applies equally to software and to hardware. This is the sound of the MC303. Want to make music on the move? Well, there are hardware synthesizers and hardware groove boxes that are really great for this purpose. You can make an entire track on the road. A software-based studio is just as good. Just take your laptop, an audio interface and a controller with you. However, you probably won't be taking a collection of vintage synthesizers on the road though, although you can easily take the emulations with you. So you want some new sounds? Well, if it's a classic vintage synthesizer, you'll need to hunt around before you get your hands on a good example. If you fancy a brand new hardware synth, well, visit the store when it opens or place an order and wait for the delivery. With software synthesizer, you can strike while the iron is hot. You want a new synth with a particular sound during a late night creative session? No problem. You can be downloading and playing within minutes. Software is undeniably cheaper than hardware. If you were to buy 10 different hardware synths, you're probably out of pocket by a couple of $1,000s at least. 10 software synthesizers, however, is a fraction of the price. In fact, there are dozens of really great ones you can use to create fantastic music without spending a penny. But there's more than meets the eye. Buy a classic hardware synth and it will keep its value forever. Sure, a new synth will depreciate, but it will retain most of its value for years to come. Software, however, suffers from huge depreciation. It quickly becomes obsolete and probably worthless after a few years. Even if it retains some perceived value, it's tricky to sell due to license transfer hassles, and you'll probably never see any of your money again. If you want to record your hardware synths, then you'll probably need to run the analog outputs into your recording system, with degradation in audio quality as the signal is converted between analog and digital domains. Although some new synthesizers do have digital USB audio interfaces built in, still most do not. Software synths are recorded in the box, completely digitally, without any loss in quality. This is the delay between you hitting a key and the sound being generated. High latency is a horrible experience and should be avoided at all costs. Even hardware synths have some latency. The keyboard needs to be scanned, and the circuitry or the processor must generate the sound. Software synths, though, have much higher latency since the CPU is doing many other tasks, and the efficiency of the operating system, the USB bus, the ACO drivers, and the audio interface all play their part as well in adding to the delay. Hardware wins this battle hands down. Hardware synths are dedicated devices designed and built to do one task. They are rock solid and won't let you down on the gig. A software synthesizer is a different kettle of fish entirely. You're running your soft synth within a DAW on a complex operating system running on an unpredictable set of hardware components that's doing a million different tasks at the same time. Checking Wi-Fi, doing a virus scan, downloading updates, and checking for new posts on your social media. You will get audio glitches and the computer will inevitably crash from time to time. You can tolerate that in the studio, but definitely not live. Software can break due to conflicts when you update your OS or a driver. Who knows if the software will still run in 10 years? Will it be discontinued or become incompatible with a future version of Mac or Windows? Will the authentication server still be available? The hardware synth will still be going strong decades from now. Although worth noting, a vintage synth may require some costly maintenance from time to time. Recording a software synth in your DAW is a breeze. You simply record the MIDI data, which is then rendered through the software synth in real time, or when you export the final track. Need to make changes to the notes? No problem, just edit the MIDI data. You can make changes to the sound or automate parameters anytime you like. The synths and their patches and settings are saved with the song. If you need 5 DX7s, not a problem, just fire up 5 instances of the VSTi plugin. For hardware synths, you can also record the MIDI of course, but then you'll need to reconnect the synth and find the correct patch whenever you load the session. Alternatively, you could record the audio, but then you lose the flexibility to tweak and make changes to the sounds. Sometimes though, committing the take and moving on to the next part can be an effective way to work. It's easy to lose focus when playing synths on your PC. You can get distracted by notifications or the sweet temptations of your web browser to check your social. Do you really want that big screen glaring in your face as you play? Pull up a patch on a hardware synth though, and it's just you and the instrument. With software, we have so many options, hundreds of VST synths with tens of thousands of patches. It's easy to become bewildered and overwhelmed. Learning how to use a few dedicated hardware synths, however, will prevent that. A musician can build a relationship with a cherished, solid, beautifully designed, trusted and beloved hardware instrument. It's a physical item with which we can have a sentimental connection with or a feeling of nostalgia for. That will never happen with a plastic USB MIDI controller and a computer program, no matter how good it sounds. There's a lot to be said for a collection of classic hardware synthesizers, and I admire and respect the guys that are into that. I think we can all agree that you can closely emulate the sound these days, but you can never recreate the experience of owning and playing the real thing. Well, of course, there isn't one. I personally like both approaches. I love the convenience of making a track with software and all of the great free and cheap synthesizers that are available. On the other hand, quite literally, I love the hands-on control and immediate inspiration you can get with hardware. You can feel an emotional connection when you play a wonderful hardware instrument. Remember this though, you don't have to choose one or the other. They are not mutually exclusive and you can combine them to get the best of both worlds. I've highlighted the differences and the pros and cons so you can make up your own mind depending on what factors are most important for you. You can make great music with either. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's not about the gear. A great track that moves people is more about musicianship, expressiveness and emotion than what kind of synth you played it on. I've got a feeling there are going to be some great comments, so thank you very much in advance for that. I cannot wait to see your comments on this one, so thank you very much in advance. A big thanks to my sponsor as well. Please do consider supporting the companies that support me by clicking on the link down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Cheerio. Welcome to my piano inspiration series. As a channel member, you'll get 2 inspiring piano lessons every month to inject new creative ideas into your playing, broaden your repertoire, and bring you a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction. Please check the description for more details or watch this video. Thank you.